Welcome to another trip down the Bourbon Road with your hosts, Jim and Mike. So grab a glass of your favorite bourbon and kick back.
Hey, this is Big Chief, and you're listening to the Bourbon Road. You know what I love to pour in my old fashions is a little maple syrup. Can't be just any maple syrup. It has to be from Seldom Seen Farms up in Ohio. He takes bourbon barrels, pours his syrup in there, and ages it for 6 to 9 months, making for some delicious syrup that you could pour on pancakes. You could pour it on waffles, chicken and waffles like this fat guy likes. But seriously, you want to make a delicious cocktail with some maple syrup and not that old simple syrup. Check out seldomseenmaple.com. Pick up some stuff from there today. We'd appreciate it.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Shannon.
And I'm Mike Hyatt.
This is the Bourbon Road. And today, Mike, we are in StreamYard. You've had a couple of tough days at work, and we just couldn't quite get together. And, you know, it was just a good opportunity for us to connect up on StreamYard, grab a bottle of whiskey that we both wanted to drink, something a little special to each one of us.
Yeah.
And do a little chit-chatting. It's a big show. We've got some big announcements to make. Got a lot going on.
Some shocking news.
Shocking news. Now, some of our listeners may know what's coming, but some of them may not. And it's kind of a dual episode, though. We're going to talk a little bit about the news we have to reveal. And we're also going to pay homage to the veterans because Veterans Day is this Friday.
Yeah, let's talk about the veterans first. You know, we're both veterans. Jim, you served 8 years in the Navy. I served 24 in the Army and the Coast Guard, and then I still work as a government civilian today. But, you know, hats off to all of our brothers and sisters out there that still wore the uniform. Even the kids, you know, I work up on the 4th floor of the federal building in Louisville, and I get to see the sign every morning when I walk into work, and it always brings a smile to my face, and it says the gateway to freedom at MEPS. And if that don't put a damn smile on your face as an American, nothing will. And I see those young kids in there, and they look to me like babies, right?
Now, MEPS is the onboarding processing center.
Yes, right? A military entrance point is what it is. You know, every big city usually has one, or each state usually has one. I went through Dallas, Texas, is where I went. And I would imagine you went through Columbus, Ohio.
I went through Cincinnati, but for entry, but basically most of my processing happened in San Diego.
Yeah. Well, once you get to where you're going to go to basic training, and you go through that process, but that's that military entrance point, and I get to walk past it every day to go to work, and it puts a smile on my face, and I'm thinking, man, look at those young kids, and they don't even know the sacrifices they're going to make for people's freedom. You know, if you stay in as long as I did,
and that's a very long time.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to make friends, and people that you leave home, they're like, oh, I'll come visit you. And, you know, most people don't ever make that visit. And then when you get somewhere, I always say, if you're somewhere for 4 years, the first year it takes you to get your household set up. The second year you start to make friends. The third year you make a home, and the fourth year you pack your home up and leave it, and you leave all your friends behind, and you kind of this mad cycle. You know, luckily for me, I'm married to a military brat that her dad served. Hats off to you, Tony, for being a veteran. And she's the perfect traveling spouse, right? You know, I couldn't ask for anything better. But the veterans out there that served, serving today, hats off to you. You know, I feel blessed, and we're recording this on election day. We wouldn't have free elections without guys like me and you, Jim, you know.
Absolutely.
Buddies out there like Chris Cruz, you know, I could just go on. Fred Minnick is a veteran. We wouldn't have our freedom if it wasn't guys like that raised their hand and said, I will protect and serve. and defend the Constitution. We both know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a special kind of person. It takes a special kind of person to devote themselves to military service. And it's not an easy decision to make. I can remember the day I made mine. There's a bit of excitement to it when you make that decision, but there's a hard shock of reality when you finally enter into service at MEPS or wherever it is, and you have to deal with that totally different environment than it is to live in civilian public. And it's a sacrifice from day one. The very first day you enter in, you start your sacrifice, and it continues to the day you separate. And it's just a different world. It's a different world. It's one of compliance. It's one of dedication. It's a one of service. And it's life-changing for sure.
Yeah, I always think that our veterans, they don't get enough. There's a lot of veterans out there that suffer from PTSD. They suffer from anxiety. They don't have a home. And if I can push something real fast, Jim, is if you're looking to help veterans out, go to charities like USA Cares. Somebody we'd partner with this past year, ask them how you can help a veteran. Go to a VFW, ask how you can help a veteran. Go to the Veterans Hospital and ask how you can volunteer. There's veterans out there that need your help today. Without our veterans, that we wouldn't have such a great nation. It's just, I'm going to tear up saying this. But yeah, Friday is Veterans Day. And I said this to the last podcast, but if you know a veteran, thank a veteran. And you might not get anything back from them. A lot of them don't know what to say.
What you normally get is a humble nod. They'll just acknowledge that they heard what you said, but they won't have any words for you because it's tough to come up with words.
It is. I always love when somebody says, thank you for your service. And somebody pat me on the back or shake my hand. And I sometimes I don't know what to say. It's even worse when a fellow veteran says, hey, thanks for your service, brother. I only served 4 years, and hey, 4 years is 4 years. That's, old geezers like me that served 24 years. I'm just sticking around for that prison sentence and, waiting for that paycheck at the end of the day. And hey, it's helped me out, being a veteran. I've got a lot of nice things in life, and I feel very fortunate that I got to serve, that I'm still healthy, that, like I said, today's election day, and those polls, people wouldn't be able to vote today if it wasn't for guys like you, Jim, spending 8 years under the ocean. Dave Stevenson down the road and Greg Robinson, those guys for what they did. Greg's brother. I could just go on and on about veterans that we know. And so we'll get off our high horse, but thank you to our fellow veterans out there. If you're one of our listeners, you're not a veteran, thank a veteran, and we'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Mike. So let's talk a little bit about what we have in our glass today. So each of us decided to choose a bottle that we like. And I think yours is pretty apparent.
Well, I got a bottle of Weller 107. You might call it Weller Antique. It's called all kinds of stuff. One of my, favorite whiskeys, the Wheated King Kentucky. You should believe I'd have some wheat in my glass today. Sipping on this. It's super delicious. What do you got, Jim?
So I've got a bottle of Henry McKenna 10-year bottled in bond. This bottle is available, but it's they're few and far between. But I have a couple of them, and every now and then I like to go revisit it because Heaven Hill really puts some special liquid in these bottles. And this particular bottle was barreled on 12/20 of 07. So that means it came out. Yeah, it was bottled in 2017. So this is an older bottle. Definitely a great bourbon to sip on. Not my signature bourbon, but definitely one I like to have.
Yeah, two great bottles. I mean, people that say they don't like Weller, I just kind of laugh at them, or people that say they don't like Henry McKenna. I always say Henry McKenna 10-year is like banana bread in a bottle. It is that good. And then Weller 107 it's like a hot tamale candy.
But it's got a little bit of cherry in it too, doesn't it? I mean,
that hot tamale candy's got some, I don't know what the red stuff is. That just dye? Or
I think it's just dye, but I know that that's Melody's favorite candy. So anytime she has a birthday or Christmas or some special day, I always make sure I get her a little box of those hot tamales because that's her favorite candy. So, she's never had Weller 107. Maybe I need to introduce her to it.
With a box of candies or those
with
candies.
A box of Red Hots or hot tamales. Yeah.
Yeah. Eat one of those and then say, here, try this. So everybody's probably like, hey, what's this news? What's this shocking news you're going to talk about? Well, roadies, the listeners out there in podcast land, a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, I guess, Jim, I saw an opportunity for a position I wanted in the Coast Guard as a Coast Guard civilian, and I applied for it. And usually the position is either a higher ranking officer usually ends up with those positions, not an old dirty enlisted guy like myself.
Salty dog.
Yeah, an old salty bosun mate chief. But I do have to give to gab, right? At least I think I do. So for some reason I interviewed for the job, and they called me and said, hey, the job's yours if you want it. And, I've thought about it hard, and I prayed about it hard, and, me and Viv talked about it, and it's something I really want to do in life. So I've accepted to be the new port security specialist at, it's called Marine Safety Unit, Port Arthur, Texas, which is the port of Beaumont, Texas, and the port of Port Arthur. But Beaumont, Texas is the fourth largest port in the United States. And it's also the largest military outload port in the world, meaning where all of our military equipment ships out to go throughout the world to do the King's business. And so Viv and I are going to be headed to Texas, back home after 31 years, Jim.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've always maintained a close tie with Texas, and Texas has always been a part of many of your conversations.
I am a big old Texan. They always say everything's bigger in Texas. And, I do live a large life. I'm happy, but I'm very sad to announce that tonight's going to be my last show. I got a lot of stuff going on right now. A lot of people might not know this. Jim knows this for sure. I have a little bit of an anxiety problem. I get stressed out very easily when I got news like this, or I got a lot of stuff going on. And it's overwhelming to sell a farm here in Kentucky, and we're going to miss our farm. I'm going to miss the Bourbon Trail. I don't know that I would have time to dedicate to the Bourbon Road at this time. And, I just felt that it's fair to the podcast. It's fair to you, Jim, to just kind of hang it up for the mic and hang up the earphones for a little bit and concentrate on making sure that my wife has a home down in Texas that she can be comfortable in. Because once again, as I did for 31 years, I've picking her up and making her move again. And you know well that we love our place here. We built a home, right? Yeah,
and I could see it now. I mean, so many times in your past, you've come home with orders, right? And I think this time you came home with orders, and Viv just went and got the boxes and started taping them up, because that's what she does, right?
She has. A lot of people don't know that about Viv, is that Viv's 59 years old. I know she's going to get mad at me for telling everybody their age, but it's no secret out there. It's published. But for 59 years of her life, she's been a military daughter, a military wife, and now a military son. The great things are that our grandkids are only about 3.5 hours away. We'll both be home in Texas. For people that don't know, Big Chief loves to eat some shrimp and some crawfish. So I'll be down there, and I'll probably have a pool or something like that. We won't live on a farm this time. Or at least we don't think we will. I'll be a busy man for a long time, I think. But and this is, listeners, this is super difficult for me. I love the bourbon community. I love it wholeheartedly. I love the friends that we've made, the interviews that we've had, the friendships that I've built. Me and Jim's conversations up and down the road. Good Lord, we've had some conversations. We've had dreams. We've talked about all kinds of stuff, and this is going to be a tough move. Probably the toughest move I've had. There's, you always think, hey, the next unit is going to be better, and the grass is always greener on the other side until you get there, right? And the worst place you ever left is your last unit. Always, it seems like. I'm sure you had that in your career, Jim, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But this time, I don't know if I can say that. I really don't. We've built a home here in Kentucky. People say, "Oh, my old Kentucky home," but at the same time, you'd have to come out here to Jeff the Ben Farm and look what we have and the view we have. And if you've met me, I have a passion for whiskey, for bourbon, for not just Kentucky bourbon, but for whiskey in the whiskey community in America. I just love it. I love the people. So, Jim, I've had a great time, and I wouldn't say this is goodbye, because I'm going to, as long as you'll have me, Jim, I'll come back every once in a while as an old special guest. We'll see if we can resurrect the old big bad booty daddy of bourbon and get him to come on and talk about maybe the bourbon of the year. Maybe I'll find something special down in Texas we got to talk about. So, like we've had Randy on in the past shows. It's that time that I need to go down there and focus on this right now, and focus on Viv and focus on Woodrow to make sure I'm taking him for his farm. So it's gonna be difficult.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little emotional for Woodrow too. I think he's kind of made a home of that place, and when the Blue Angels fly that missing man formation.
Yeah,
and they got that one. So there'll always be a mic set up just in case Big Chief shows up and wants to join in on the podcast, because there's always a place for you.
I appreciate that. So I know listeners are wondering what's Jim going to do without old Big Chief? What's he going to do without the Weedy King of Kentucky? Are you going to be able to find another big guy?
Okay. Well, first of all, I could never, ever replace Mike Hyatt. That's just not going to happen. But the plan is to move on with the Bourbon Road, to continue recording episodes, to eventually find another co-host who will share the mic with me, and to continue this journey down the Bourbon Road. So, we're at 320 episodes or so right now. There's no reason why we can't hit 500 and keep the content coming. Now, there's not going to be Big Chief. There's not going to be the big bad booty daddy. There's going to be a few things that have to change, but at the end of the day, the Bourbon Road will continue. The roadies will continue. The Bourbon Road Facebook group and Instagram and TikTok and all the things that we do will continue on. But there'll have to be some changes, because, Mike, you leave a big black hole where you used to be.
Well, hopefully it's not a black hole. Just an empty bottle.
Black hole is a representation of emptiness, right? It's like void.
Yeah, empty void bottle. There. That's what I'm leaving. Empty bottle. I could talk about the things that we've got to do and the people we've got to meet, and how much fun we've got to have over this past year has been just super amazing. And we had a lot of plans, and then something like this sneaks up. It was nothing planned. Listeners, trust me. It was a spur of the moment thing that just kind of happened. And, I always felt like I'm not that lucky of a guy. If I played the lottery, I'm not going to win it. I didn't win that $2 billion today, Jim. I hate to tell everybody. But this time I got lucky.
California did, though.
Yeah, yeah. This probably didn't need it either, but I just got lucky, and I feel lucky that I was part of the Bourbon Road. I feel lucky that we've built a community in the Bourbon Roadies. We built a whiskey community. You know, when we go to events and people come up and say hi or give us a hug or share a pour with us, send us stuff in the mail. All the whiskey community out there in the distilleries, there's that stuff is going to leave a lasting memory with me. And if people don't think I don't enjoy this, I do. You just don't know how much I'm going to miss this. And I mean, I appreciate everybody's support, and me and Viv are going to need a lot of prayers. Everybody always says the most stressful time in a marriage is moving and buying a house, right? Or selling a house. And we've did this a lot. Viv you're right about Viv. She didn't even blink an eye. Really, she's just, hey, let's do this. Let's pack it up and let's go make another home. And that's what a great woman does. I there's no better than her out there. I know your wife's great, Jim, but I don't know if I could have found a better woman than Vivian. And I'm just blessed. I was blessed that I got to meet you in a bar in Shelbyville, Kentucky, drinking bourbon one night, and I was like, man, this guy's hitting on me.
No, you didn't think that, did you?
I was like, man, I must be sexy tonight. No, it's gonna, and I wish you well, Jim. I hope you find a great co-host. I was very honored to be selected to be your co-host, and I was when I started, I was like, man, can I match this Brandy guy? I don't have that long flowing blonde hair or anything, so I couldn't match that for sure. He looked like John Snyder from the Dukes of Hazzard, and I was like, well, that's not me. But yeah, what a great time. If you're down in Texas in the Port Arthur, Beaumont area, look me up. This isn't the last you've seen me. I'm going to keep Big Bourbon Chief Instagram going. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'll still do some bourbon stuff when I get time. You'll probably see me on the Texas Whiskey Trail for sure. We've already talked about that a little bit, and some Texas people reached out to me, so you'll see me doing that. And I'm going to come back to Kentucky because I got Jim here and I got a horse farm to stay at. So why wouldn't I take advantage of a free vacation at his Airbnb he has? Hopefully at a discounted rate, and we'll come drink some bourbon up here in the land of bourbon and enjoy a little bit of life up here. When I always feel like, I mean, you've talked about this, Jim, right? Is we see all these other podcasts that don't live here in Kentucky. And, I've said this many times. I'm like, I don't know how they do it. I really don't. And maybe I've taken it for granted while I was here that, bourbon is really at my footstep at all moments. I could step out my door and be at bourbon.
Yeah. I don't think you've taken it for granted. I think you've sucked up every moment of it, and you've immersed yourself in Kentucky bourbon and all things bourbon. So I would have to say that if you never come to Kentucky again, if you spend the rest of your years in Texas and you have had enough Kentucky and enough Kentucky bourbon to last a lifetime. So. Well,
I'm going to take a little bit of it with me, and I'll definitely be back. I am a Kentucky Colonel, so I think I owe it to Kentucky. It's kind of been a second home for me.
Maybe, just maybe, we can get you to come back for Bourbon on the Banks next year.
Yeah, I got told that if I'm not here, it's not happening. So there are some people that I can't explain how many messages that I've gotten and well wishes and stuff, but there's been a lot of tears shed with some people that have been great friends. And there's a lot of change in the bourbon world right now, right, Jim? Wilderness Trail just sold. Mark and Denny just left. Maker's Mark and are making their own deal. There's a a distillery, $200 million distillery being built halfway between our houses. I could go on. Green River being sold to Bardstown Bourbon Company, right? Leaper's Fork has a new partner in London where they're going to distribute their whiskey over there. They didn't sell out to them. They didn't sell. It's just new partner in England. Bourbon's going to be sold in England now from a small craft distillery, which I'm super
pretty
proud.
amazing, right? Yeah.
Super proud of Lee Kennedy, April Cantrell, and Matt King down there and the rest of their team. That hats off to them. Distribution across the pond for a small craft distillery, you don't see it, and they pulled it off somehow, some way. So, so many bourbon news things happen. Lisa Wicker leaving Widow Jane up in New York and coming back home to Kentucky. Some people are guessing where she's going to go. I don't know. I'm not going to take a stab at it. I haven't asked her. I haven't bugged her. But Lisa, if I could have you, I know you listen to the podcast, reach out to Jim and come on the podcast with him and tell him where.
So
I'm sure he would.
There's like an open invitation from her to come down to Bardstown and sit on her front porch there and drink some whiskey, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's that would be the case. So, as most people would say, this isn't buy or see you later. I'll see you on down the Bourbon Road, I guess. Like I said, if you come to Kentucky, you can probably find me in a pool with what kind of beer, Jim?
You're going to have either Coors Classic or Silver Bullets walking across the pool, one of the two.
You could bet on that I'll have a fridge stocked with a Coors Banquet and probably some Silver Bullets, and I'll have some bourbon by the pool. I love to have my old bourbon margarita, the whiskey sour. So maybe I can get Viv to figure out how to make those for me and serve them up at poolside. That's my dream. So, well, Jim, it's been a hell of a ride, man.
It has. It's not completely over, Mike, because you're going to come back and visit, and we're going to have a few shows in the future. We'll be searching for that new co-host, and we've got some ideas and some changes and direction, that we want to do to try and make up for that big black hole, that void that you're leaving, Mike, because quite honestly, your personality and the work that you've done to build up the Bourbon Road is going to be missed, and it's going to leave a little bit of a void that needs to be filled. But with that, I think I should probably let our listeners know that we're probably going to discontinue the Monday episodes, the craft distillery episodes, at least through the end of the year. Mike needs to take care of things, to get business taken care of, and get his family moved to Texas. It's going to be a little bit tough for me to maintain 2 shows a week during that time frame. In addition to that, I'm going to have to search out and find a good co-host for the Bourbon Road and continue with the business that we do. So let's just assume for the moment that we're going to postpone and pause the Monday episodes for the moment. We'll drop back to 1 episode a week until we can get things organized and set for 2023. It's going to be a big year. We do have the need to decide who our bourbon of the year is for 2023, and we're going to make sure that happens one way or another, and we'll let you guys know more about that in the next few episodes.
Well, Jim, like I said, it's been a hell of a ride, man. It's I've had a great time. Roadies listeners, don't forget to, like I said, please give me a follow on Instagram at Big Bourbon Chief. Make sure you're watching that to see what I'm doing in the future. You never can tell where I'm going to pop up, show up. Am I going to start a new podcast? I don't know. It might be a sports podcast. Jim would tell you that I'm a football nut at almost all times. I love football and I love hunting. So I might start something like that. Fishing down there. I'm going to try to take some time off and kind of gather my thoughts and embrace this new job. It's a monster of a job. So
your first guest needs to be Jim Shannon.
Jim Shannon, fly fishing for reds in the Gulf of Mexico.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a deal. Well, Jim, where can everybody find us on social media?
Well, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can find us on all the social medias. Probably the most important place, you can find us on our private Facebook group called the Bourbon Roadies. That's where all our good friends hang out. It's a private group, so you need to join. Just search out the Bourbon Roadies on Facebook, and as soon as you do, there'll be an opportunity for you to join. And when you do, you'll get 3 questions. Those questions are you 21? Do you like bourbon? And you agree to play nice? Because, well, we don't tolerate any rudeness in the Bourbon Roadies. So if you're going to get on somebody for what they're drinking, if you're not happy with somebody else's choice for the whiskey of the day, you just need to keep it to yourself, because if you get out of hand, our moderators will let you know about it.
Yeah, there's some great moderators in there. Drew, Jason, and Adam. Make sure you, hey, give those guys thank you. Make sure you go in there and post. I'll be in the Bourbon Roadies every once in a while, peeking in there to see what's going on. Make sure Jim's keeping this thing rolling down the road.
All right. Well, we do 2 shows every single week. Well, maybe not for the next month or so, but we do 2 shows every week. Every Monday, we do a craft distillery episode. Every Wednesday, we do a full-length episode like today's. We'll deep dive a subject. This is not a subject I was wanting to deep dive, but nevertheless, we did. We'll have a guest on sometimes. Sometimes we'll drink through several bottles. We'll talk through a subject. You know, it's always a fun time. We'll get you to work and get you back every single week. You can expect this episode from the Bourbon Road. Mike, what do they have to do to make sure they don't miss one?
One last time, listeners, you want to scroll on up to the top of that app, hit that check sign, that plus sign, that subscribe sign. Make sure you hear what Jim's got laid down to you about bourbon for the week. Make sure you do that. Then you need to scroll on down, hit that 5-star review, leave some comments, because you know it'll happen. The big bad booty daddy of bourbon will come hunt you down, knocking on that door. Probably going to be dragging some of this Weller Antique 107 with him. We'll drink it all night long. By the end of the night, I guarantee you'll leave old Jim a 5-star review and some comments. He'd really appreciate it. That's going to open up doors to distilleries to him and his new co-host. It's going to get great whiskey in his hands so they can do great reviews in the future. I'm sure he would appreciate it.
Well, we are very, very approachable, and we look forward to hearing from you. If you've got an idea for a show, if you've got an idea for a bottle, if there's a distillery in your hometown doing it right, we want to know about it. We'll make sure that we reach out to them. We get the details. We get the bottle. We'll do a review. We'll make a show out of it. Make sure you reach out to us on our website, thebourbonroad.com. There's a contact us page there. You can pop in, leave us a message. We'll make sure to get back to you. But you can always send us an email. I'm Jim at thebourbonroad.com. You can always hit us up on Instagram. I'm Jay Shannon 63.
I'm Big Bourbon Chief.
And we'll see you down
the Bourbon Road.